Hey guys, AEW Full Gear is going on tonight. First match is on the kickoff show. The NWA Women's Championship was on the line on the buy-in. Serena Deeb was facing Allison Kay. It was an okay match. Deeb was able to retain the NWA Women's title, and after the match, she was confronted by Thunder Rosa, so it looks like they're going to continue this rivalry. The only question I have is, will this rivalry between Deeb and Rosa continue on AEW, or is it going to be moved to NWA Power? Once the pay-per-view actually started, the first match was Kenny Omega versus Adam Page in the finals of that Eliminator tournament to determine the #1 contender for the AEW Championship. This was a really good match, great way to kick off the pay-per-view. The storyline between Page and Omega goes back months and months when they were tag team champions. And in the end, it was Omega who got the win. And so he has been kind of undergoing a character metamorphosis, kind of becoming more heelish in his tactics and his pre-match presentation. So it should be fun to see him as a #1 contender. As for Page, not really sure what they're going to do with him yet. He kind of looks sad and disappointed, disheartened after the bout. So he may be going through another character metamorphosis as well. I think this feud between him and Omega is over, as Omega is now the #1 contender. So it's going to be interesting to see what AEW decides to do with Adam Hangman Page going forward. Match we had Orange Cassidy versus John Silver of the Dark Order. It was a pretty good match. Nothing really popped out here as extraordinary or bad. Just a good match in general. After the match though, Beretta and Chucky T came out, the best friends, gave Orange Cassidy a hug. Kind of like a let me up match after the very, very good match between Omega and Page. After that, we had the TNT Championship match, Darby Allin challenging Cody Rhodes. This was a really, really good match. Cody and Darby, I thought, gelled pretty well together. In the end, though, it was Allin who was able to beat Cody and win the TNT Championship. So it looks like AEW's really giving him that push. In my opinion, Darby Allin is AEW's version of a younger Jeff Hardy. He kind of has that appeal, that buzz, that pop, that it factor. He does all this reckless, dangerous stuff in the ring. So just the way Darby Allin is presented just really, really reminds me of Jeff Hardy back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. After the match though, Team Taz came out and they attacked both Allin and Cody Rhodes, and then Starks and Cage kind of had like a little tug of war, eye to eye over the TNT Championship, and Taz got them to refocus, and they continued to attack Darby and Cody, and they're about to slam Darby's arm into a car door before he was saved by Big Willie Hobbs. So it looks like this rivalry between Team Taz and then Cody and Darby, and now possibly Hobbs, is going to continue possibly at the next pay-per-view. Not really sure how they're going to do this, but I am interested to see where this rivalry goes now that Darby Allin has the TNT Championship around his waist. Next on the card was the AEW Women's Championship. Shida defending her belt against Nyla Rose. So it was a good match. Not really much of a build-up. AEW's women's division has kind of been relegated in favor of the NWA Championship belt, Women's Championship belt, which is very odd considering this is AEW's show. It's their women's title. You'd think it'd be featured more prominently. But yeah, it was a good match. Vicky Guerrero got involved, but it really didn't matter. Shida was still able to get the win. Then after the match, Vicky screamed at Nyla Rose and slapped her in the face. So this is a very interesting dynamic between Vicky and Nyla. Eventually, Nyla's going to snap and just turn her back on Vicky and destroy her. But Shida's AEW Championship run continues, and not really sure who's going to be next to face her. Maybe Britt Baker, maybe Big Swole. That remains to be seen. Next up was the AEW Tag Team Championship match, FTR versus the Young Bucks. And if the Young Bucks could not beat FTR for the tag title belts, they would no longer challenge for the AEW Tag Team Championships as long as they were under contract. A similar situation to what Cody Rhodes had when he could not beat Chris Jericho for the AEW Championship last year. So this is a really, really good match, kind of a dream match for a bunch of hardcore IWC fans. The Revival, FTR, taking on the Young Bucks. It was a very, very good match. The story here was Matt struggling through his knee injury, but he was able to overcome it. He ends up hitting a super kick for the win, so the Young Bucks end up beating FTR for the Tag Team Championships. I would not be opposed to seeing a rematch between these two teams. And then after the match, Kenny Omega comes down to the ring, celebrates with the Young Bucks, and then in the corner you could see Adam Page and one of the entrance talents just kind of looking at his former friend. So this is a very interesting development now that the Young Bucks won. Omega won. Their careers seem to be on the upward trajectory, while Page is going in the opposite direction. So I'm really interested to see what they do here with the Elites. Now that Cody doesn't have his belt anymore, Page is kind of going down, and then Omega is not that much of a contender, and the Bucks are the tag team champs. So after the tag team championship match, we had the Ultimate Deletion match. This was complete insanity. If you've ever seen one of Matt Hardy's cinematic matches, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This one was no different. Very fun to watch. Lots of cool stuff here. So it's at the Hardy compound, and Sammy rolls in a golf cart, and then the drone comes up, and it has like a hologram of Matt Hardy. He's talking to Sammy, and then Matt Hardy's actually in a monster truck and squashes Sammy's golf cart. They fight all over the compound. Santana and Ortiz get involved. Private Party gets involved. Matt Hardy and Sammy are shooting fireworks at each other. Then Hardy gets a twist of fate and tries to throw Sammy to the lake of reincarnation, when you see Hurricane Helms being held hostage by Gangrel of all people. Meanwhile, though, Private Party and Santana and Ortiz are still fighting each other in a ring on the Hardy compound, while Sammy and Matt Hardy are fighting by the lake of reincarnation. They end up going into the Dome of Deletion. Matt Hardy locks it, so it's just them two in there. Sammy climbs a very tall ladder inside a ring inside the dome, has Matt on a table, hits a swanton bomb, seems to hurt his neck. This allows Matt to capitalize. He spears Sammy out of the ring through a table, or cracks the back of Sammy's head wide open, so Sammy's bleeding. And Matt Hardy ends up winning after two chair shots to the head to Sammy. One was like a single concerto on the floor. That was the one that sealed the deal. Then after the match, Private Party helps Matt Hardy throw Sammy into a trash can. They load that trash can into a truck, and Senior Benjamin drives the truck away. So Matt Hardy wins the Ultimate Deletion match on the Hardy compound. Very fun match. Definitely check it out. Next on the card was Chris Jericho versus MJF. The stipulation being, if MJF won, he was now a part of the Inner Circle faction. That was an okay match. Nothing really spectacular stood out about it. The ending, though, would have made Eddie Guerrero proud. So Chris Jericho is holding a baseball bat. MJF falls down and actually got hit. The ref calls for the bell, so MJF wins via disqualification. So he is part of the Inner Circle, and then after the match, it's later revealed that Wardlow is now joining MJF as part of the Inner Circle. So it'll be fun to see how this dynamic with just Chris Jericho and MJF continues, now with the addition of Wardlow being thrown into there with Jack Swagger, and you know that Santana, Ortiz, and Sammy there had their reservations about MJF, especially Sammy. So it should be fun to see what this Inner Circle dynamic goes on from now, and if this addition of MJF will possibly cause that whole faction to implode upon itself. Alright, so the main event just wrapped up. Jon Moxley defending his AEW Championship against Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match. And this was everything you thought it'd be between Moxley and Kingston. An absolutely brutal, hardcore, balls to the wall, bloody fight between two guys who made their names on the indie scene. Moxley, of course, got that big shot at Superstardom in WWE, had a little small dance in NJPW before becoming a full-time AEW superstar, while Eddie Kingston just got his shot on AEW a couple months ago and was immediately thrust into the main event scene. Great storyline. The build to this match was phenomenal, and the match itself did not disappoint. Very brutal, very violent chair shots, barbed wire baseball bat shots, thumbtacks. There's a spot where Kingston dumped Moxley onto the thumbtacks and then later poured alcohol all over Moxley's back. So yeah, this fresh wounds are getting stung with the alcohol. And then in the end, though, it was Moxley able to retain. He wraps his arm and barbed wire chokes out Eddie Kingston. Kingston says he quit, so Moxley is still your AEW World Champion. After the match, he has a brief stare down with Kenny Omega. So it looks like the collision course between Omega and Moxley is going to be set. A rematch from their hardcore match last year, which was absolutely insane. It was that unsanctioned lights out match where they just went balls to the wall. I expect nothing less from these two going forward, and it'll be fun. Omega and Moxley stole the show the last time they had a match. This time with the AEW Championship on the line. I can't imagine them not stealing the show again. And yeah, so AEW Full Gear 2020, very fun show to watch. All the matches pretty much very entertaining. Range from good to outstanding. Definitely recommend checking out this show. And that's all I got for you. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Check out my website, cincyfanzone.blogspot.com. Give me a follow on Twitter and on Instagram. Links to both of those are in the description below. Those handles are at Cincy Fan Zone. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.